A few years ago, in preparing a funding application for a new project that we were working on, I had the task of ringing a number of principals of small rural primary schools. One particular principal sticks out in my mind. She was principal of a one-teacher school, and I think I caught her on a really bad day, judging by the outpour of frustration that I received in the call. Her main issue was that she did not have anybody to talk with about her work. To me, the sense of isolation and frustration that that principal was feeling highlights what it can be like for schools and teachers when they do not have the opportunity to discuss their work, particularly if they work with children and families who are in challenging circumstances. The school networks that we facilitate within the TED project here in Mary I provide the opportunity for schools to do just that. So what are school networks? School networks are a structure or they are a platform where schools can come together to share their ideas, to share their experiences and discuss issues that are of concern to them. But very importantly, it also gives them the opportunity to identify responses or solutions to those issues as well. So we facilitate 3 networks within the TED project. We have 2 networks of primary schools. We have the Plus network and the Curla Céile network. And we also have a network of primary and secondary schools, which is the Oscailt network. So these networks meet very regularly and they discuss issues of concern. So for example, things like behaviour, attendance, working with parents, the impact of policy at school level, the impact of policy on a child, budget cuts, working with other agencies. So at their very least, school networks are talking shops. And this is a very good thing because it gives the schools the opportunity to meet other schools who work in similar circumstances, and it decreases the sense of isolation that they feel, and this can be very powerful. The schools that we work with in our networks have a direct link to the college. We often provide continuing professional development or CPD for these schools from experts within the Faculty of Education here in the college. So for example, we have arranged CPD on intercultural education, on building bridges, a resource for developing comprehension, on oral language development, on strategies for teaching children with Down syndrome. And we have also arranged for external experts to provide CPD for our schools as well. Just recently, 3 of our schools completed CPD in mindfulness, and last year we arranged for whole school inputs on the impact of a parent's trauma on children for schools as well. When schools participate in networks, they also have the opportunity to be a part of initiatives and projects that are unique and creative. We have just this week signed off on a new project, a very exciting new project involving Lego education resources and software. And this will be run in conjunction with the ICT and digital learning as well as maths education here in the college. So children in the schools, in the networks that we work with, will have the opportunity to learn how to use these in their classroom with their teacher and also with student teachers from the college. Over 140 children from 3rd and 4th class from 4+ schools are the very first children in the Mary Immaculate College Children's Choir this year. And this initiative is being run in conjunction with music education here in the college, whereby student volunteers go out to the schools and work with children on their repertoire. This is in partnership with Music Generation Limerick City. So partnership and collaboration, this is where school networks can really come into their own. When schools work in collaboration with institutions like Mary I, they have the opportunity to participate in research and intervention projects. And in response to schools' concerns with issues like behaviour and family-school relationships, we sought and secured funding for 2 very tailor-made projects, the Working Together project on behaviour and the Family-School Community Educational Partnership project. So this all probably sounds wonderful, and you were probably thinking, oh my gosh, every school should be in a network. But we must remember that schools, when they get involved in networks, it's very complicated and it can be very messy. And I'm going to use my model here to explain what I mean by this. So school networks have a structure and they have a dynamic. If you look at my model here, you can see that a network is made up of different parts. If you see the small little circles here, these represent the schools, Mary I, and agencies like the Department of Education and Science. You can also see the threads or the straws here in my model. These represent trust, communication, coordination, and relationships. And these little knots here in my model, they represent network activities, so the likes of meetings, seminars, collaborative projects that we get involved in. So these all give the network their shape and their dynamic. We can't underestimate the importance of the threads. If you pull out the threads from this model, you can see that the whole thing will fall apart. So that's the communication, the collaboration, the trust, and the relationships. So school networks, in order to function and to grow and develop, they need to be nourished and sustained, like any living thing, like any dynamic thing. And this requires leadership, it requires dedication, and it requires time, and it requires, very importantly, people with the right skills to facilitate, to nourish, and to sustain relationships like this over a long period of time. So when schools come together with Mary I to work in school networks, there are many benefits for them. But most importantly, and this is the reason why the schools, why we get involved, and why the likes of the Department of Education and Science become involved, there are many benefits for children. And this, however, is a story for another day. Thank you.